All right, Kaylee. Well, we are here just kind of talking about your experience with Fit Teacher Academy. So, um, first off, just kind of tell me what kind of got you to join our program.
I decided to join because I was at a spot with my weight gain that I hadn't been at in a long time. And I was starting to not feel good about myself. And that was translating into my time at school. And I want to be my best self with my students. And it's really hard to bring your best self to your students when you're not feeling good. And so I was excited when I saw that it was about teachers. And then it made me even more excited that it was about teachers, that you knew what it was like to be a teacher. And that was what, like, I was like, so I wasn't feeling good. And then knowing that you had experienced time in the classroom and working with kids and all those demands made me feel good about that was like, it was a good choice for me where I was at with all the other things going on, that you would understand kind of the ebbs and flows of what's happening with, but really that got me started was that I just wasn't feeling good about myself. And I knew I needed to change something. And this gave me a way to change something at home, and worked with my schedule. I didn't have to go anywhere. And that helped me. Even though in the past I've enjoyed going to the gym, it was not in a place in my life where I was like, oh yeah, I can leave. I needed it to be easy at home, but still be held accountable.
Cool. Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about some things you maybe tried in the past that didn't work?
Yeah, I've tried using some of the tools that you use on my own, and not really knowing what the appropriate goal should be. I wasn't as successful using the tools as I was when you like guided me and set me up with the tools. So using familiar tools like MyFitnessPal, yes, I've had it before, but it wasn't effective because I didn't know how to use, or didn't have the right goals. So just that you were able to streamline that helped me be successful. And then I've had personal trainers before, and that's at the gym, and that works, but you have to have a lot of time to get there. And I was going to a gym before the school year started and getting up at 5:30, and it just was the getting up and going and driving, it just really burned me out, even though when I was there it was fine. But I just like couldn't be consistent about it. And I think that knowing I need to check in, having someone that I felt really like cared about my progress and my success, but I was always positive even when I was not positive, helped me kind of break through some of the things that have made me unsuccessful in the past. And before I was in high school and in college, high school I was an athlete, and in college I did a ton of like a ton of sports. So sometimes too, that's hard for me to go, I'm new, I'm different now. And it's okay to be not like I was at 18.
Yep.
Like, yeah. And that's okay. And I felt like so I know I needed to do something different that I hadn't tried before, because my life was different than it had been in the past.
Cool. All right. Can you just talk about kind of in general your overall experience with the program, how you've been doing?
I think I've been successful. I down 10 pounds. And originally I had hoped it would be more, but that was not based on you or me. Like it was based on like life kind of. But I'm definitely fitter, and so the weight was a part of it, but it helped me refocus. And the thing that tends to happen or it has happened to me in the past, kind of going back to that last question, is that when I am working with someone, it's so like, well, you missed XYZ, and it's really negative, and that feeds on the bad behavior. And I go, oh, well, they're going to be disappointed because they didn't do this, and they're going to be all over me. And then that feeds on me self-sabotaging more until I back at square one. And that never happened with you, you're always like, yeah, you're going to have some setbacks and that's okay. Let's move forward. What do you think we need to do? And that attitude of knowing that you were going to be helping me and that it wasn't a punitive, like I had to step, man, I only got one of my workouts in and 2 walks, or I only got walks in, or hey, the walking outside isn't working for me. Is it okay if I walk around my living room? And you being like, yeah, like that's okay. Like, let's get those goals done however you think that, they work for you. And that helped me be like, man, I want to be accountable for him and myself, because I know that like we have the same goal, and it's not a clear straight line. It's not his way or the highway. I think too, the fact that I know I always come back to this water thing, but being a teacher, water, drinking, everyone's like, you drink 40 ounces or 80 ounces of water a day. Like that's not realistic to my lifestyle in the classroom. I'm not going to get 80 ounces of water in. I couldn't do my job. And the fact that you knew about that, understood, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to be here to make sure that you are drinking all your water. If you want to drink more water, drink more water, make that your goal. But I didn't feel any like the pressure to like totally change my lifestyle. I felt like you gave me really easy to start and build on my success. So it was really easy for me to keep wanting to go, even if I didn't see. And I think the fact that it was slower weight loss than I probably wanted, because we always want to lose, 100 pounds in 3 weeks and pretend and like go back to how we were. It actually was better, because I really feel good about keeping the 10 pounds I lost off, because it wasn't fast. It wasn't doing anything crazy. It wasn't that I, started doing a bizarre diet and, and that was the other thing. You're like, hey, these are your calories. And if you want to eat them this way, great. Would it be good to have more of this? Yes, it would be. But if you're not going to eat shrimp, then don't eat shrimp. If you're not going to eat, if you would prefer to have steak and not chicken, that's fine. And like that acceptance of like me walking through my own journey really was helpful. That like made me really excited to keep coming and talking about the success I had, even if it wasn't, extreme. And that's really was probably much more healthy way to do it. It's just a healthier way to do it.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, people come in wanting to lose a bunch of weight really quickly, but I think once you do it the right way, you'll find that you can keep it off, and you feel a lot better. And like you said, you didn't have to go on a crazy diet and starve yourself and do all those things and then go right back to where you were. So
Yeah.
And you did a good job of being flexible with things too. That was a big part of your success. And just, your continued and, with moving forward, you're able to kind of look ahead and say, okay, this week coming up, this is what it's going to look like. And I need to, do these things. So just having that flexibility has definitely helped you out quite a bit.
Yes. And like learning that change, like, this week I can totally do 3 workouts, and yeah, I want to keep, and I like that you let me keep the goals in there, even though I wasn't necessarily meeting them, because it's one of those things where sometimes like, yeah, I want to get to 100%, but if I get to 80% of my goal, that feels good. So it was nice that you gave me the power to like, well, we want to do this, but if you think you might be able to do that, let's put it all in there. And I liked that.
Cool. All right. So last question I would just ask is, if you know somebody or hear somebody that's kind of on the fence about joining the Fit Teacher Academy, what would you tell them to kind of push them in the right direction?
I think the biggest thing for me, and I mean, admittedly, I was on the fence, but it went back to, I felt like you heard me and you respected what I was saying. And you weren't like, this is the Ryan plan, and you're going to do all what Ryan, I mean, yes, it was a plan Ryan made, but Ryan made a plan for me. And then when my life got crazy, you said, hey, let's figure out how we can change this plan to be effective for you and to keep you going. And so I think knowing that you'll be supported and that working with someone who understands being in a room with children all day in the classroom and the demands of that is so nice, because when it's like, man, my day was just so huge. Most people don't understand what that experience is like. and the giving and giving and giving. And then you reminding like us that this is, or me, that this is what you are, you're taking this little thing out for you. And it does take time, and it can be hard, but in the long run, it's going to be good. And I just think that for me, that you had walked in my shoes was huge. And that, the not change, that you're not, your goal is to, yes, help us change ourselves. And you have a lot of really cool tools to kind of like work through some things. And just that reminder that we're important, that it's worth taking the step to do this thing for yourself. And know that in 12 weeks or longer, or however long you decide to take the problem, you're going to be be different. And it's worth, investing in yourself, like you invest in those students that you work with, whether they be kid students, adult students, just take that time and know that, and go for it, because really you don't have anything to lose. You'll be better at the end.
Wow, I love that answer. Really good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. I'm glad that I did it. It was like, with all the craziness of teaching, being in school, being a parent, taking and like going, you know what, I'm going to commit X amount of my resources and time to me, was nice. It was a different, like, that's not normally what I would do. But it was good. And I'm glad that I did that, because it made me mindful of the things I was doing that I feel like were kind of out of character and weren't who I had been before, before I like kind of like things go out of hand. And so it was really good that I took the commitment, and I wouldn't have done the work if I hadn't, well, honestly, if I hadn't paid and I hadn't given you I was like, yeah, I want to make this investment in me. And, that's why it's important to, make the extra step, even though it might be like a little bit uncomfortable. It was definitely worth it. I'm totally glad I did it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kaylee, so much. That was awesome.
You're welcome.